Hi, Kane and I are going to talk about, let me split this. Are going to talk about the catch basin program and our approach to changing our inspection frequency. I'll be talking about the catch basin program background, the original storm infrastructure mapping condition, and the catch basin program development and implementation. Then Kane will talk about the sediment analysis methods and data and the summary and conclusion. Olympia's storm operations and maintenance team are responsible for inspecting and maintaining our catch basins. Before the catch basin permit requirement, our operations and maintenance team didn't keep catch basin inspection records. The crew would take a map of an area out in the field, mark the street after inspections were completed, then throw the map away when all the streets were marked off. So, this process made the program rely on institutional knowledge, which, when two people are doing it and they leave, we're in trouble. I remember to do that. In 2011, our GIS data was replaced with CAD data because our CAD data was more accurate at the time. However, there wasn't a good process for acquiring as-built. Much of our storm infrastructure was based on original plans or were non-existent. Inputting as-built records were more than 3 years behind. And the pipe of directions were dependent on the original drawing from CAD. So if you drew it this way in CAD, that was the direction of the flow. In 2013, the 2013-2019 stormwater permit gave us 3 inspection choices: inspect all catch basins every 2 years, inspect on a circuit basis, or a combination of the two. We opted for inspecting each catch basin every 2 years because our catch basin records were non-existent and infrastructure mapping was only fair. The permit requirement gave us the potential to change a less frequent schedule based on maintenance records. It also was an opportunity to systematically clean up our storm infrastructure mapping. The requirement for changing the 2-year frequency to a lesser frequency was to meet the maintenance standards based on maintenance records of double the length of time of the proposed inspection frequency. For us, that meant 8 years of inspection records. Potentially, it would free up operations and maintenance crew time to improve existing programs and start new programs. First, we brought together operations and maintenance, GIS information services, and engineering and planning stormwater teams. We needed to determine what kind of records and software were needed and what to record, what tools are needed, how to approach a 2-year cycle citywide, and who is creating the inspections, how are work orders created, and who is tracking the records. We chose to use cell phones and iPads and started with Esri's collector, then switched to field maps when collector was no longer going to be supported. This table is what we developed to create the form used for inspection and data collection. Since we don't have sump measurements, the Vector crew determined the sediment level related to the outlet pipe. The levels went from less than 25% to 100%. Kane will go over that detail later. Some selections on the inspection form trigger an autofill for follow-up. We were fortunate that the inspections were performed by the same crew over the last 7 years, so it kept our data consistent. Keeping our decant facility location in mind, which is where sections 2 and 12 meet right by I-5, so it's pretty much centered in the city. The city was divided in half, west and east. The inspection schedule was divided into 20 sections, each with a similar number of catch basins, which is approximately 375 each. The sections are in numerical order, starting farthest away from Puget Sound. The creeks and streets were also considered when creating the section boundaries. Vector operators create the inspections, work order requests pop up in CityWorks, and our operations specialist creates the work orders from those pop-ups. I use the records for catch basin and street sweeping adaptive management. So this is a screenshot of the map that our crews see on their cell phones. The inspection form on the right opens when a catch basin is selected. When an inspection is due, the dots on the inspection map turn on using a Python script, and they automatically turn gray after the inspection is completed. The gray dots disappear the next day. If a follow-up is required, the symbology is automatically changed to the follow-up type. In this case, the red square indicates that there's a car on top of that catch basin. It will need a follow-up inspection.
Okay, hi, again, my name is Osstifin. So I'll go over my methods and data because I'd like to thank Sue really quick, because even though this is her program, I was able to kind of come on board to do this data methods analysis, because I got to use it for my master's project last spring. So that's why I'm really fortunate for this. So thank you, Sue. So first off, for our methods and data, like Sue mentioned, we used the crews use field maps. So the data that was collected that I had to use to analyze was from 2015 all the way up to 2022, because we were using enough. We thought that would be enough years based on the fact that we've got all those sections. We have non-snow route catch basins and snow route catch basins, because they're looked at a different frequency. So I took all that data, I took it out of ArcGIS, and I basically did the calculations within Excel. So I'll show you how I manipulate that data to get my results. So again, first, I hope this, okay, good, it looks good enough. So again, as I just mentioned, so we've got the two different types of catch basins that we labeled them as. So non-snow route catch basins, which are looked at every 2 years throughout the city, and then the snow route basins on the arterial routes, which is the main roads throughout the city. Those are looked at every year and cleaned every year if they need to be. So again, if Sue mentioned it, on the west side is done on even number of years, and the east side is done on odd number of years. So this map is just showing that the basins by their type. So all the brown ones that have a 2 in them are the non-snow route basins, and then all the red ones are just all of these snow route basins that are looked at once a year. So how I did this, I took all the field map data, pulled it from ArcMap, put it into an Excel sheet, and this is just a little picture of an example of what it looked like. So it's classified by the IDN number of the catch basin, if it was in the snow route or not, and what schedule it was in, and a bunch of other data that is not currently on that form. So I took all that data, the IDN, the snow route, if it had a stump or no stump, what inspection year it was, and I had to basically make sure that I had all of those inspections by IDN grouped together. So that way I knew that they were in the correct order. And then we also removed any catch basins that we couldn't locate or didn't exist, or it had data missing, because we didn't want to use that in our overall analysis. So this is just methods continued. So after grouping all that data in the Excel, I had to, as you mentioned, I had to take what data the crews collected, because in field maps, it's percentages. So I took all of that and I had to convert it to a numerical so I could actually use it in my calculations. So we've got less than 25%, 25 to 50%, 50, 75%, 75, 99%, 100%. So I took all of those and we had to make the decision to how we wanted to use those scales. So we just scaled them up, and then we took the highest value number that we could. So less than 25 is 25, 25 to 50 is 50, and so on. So we took the higher number. We were trying to figure out, well, we've got for non-snow route basins, it's like 8 years of data, and then for the snow route, it's 4 years of data. So we thought, well, how can we kind of show that? So what we figured on is taking the average of all of those inspections and then seeing just how much sediment on average were we seeing in those basins over those 4 to 8 years. So we decided that if the average of the sediment was below 50%, then the frequency could be changed, which means if it's a snow route basin, instead of looking at it every year, we'd look at it every 2 years. If it's a non-snow route basin, instead of every 2 years, we'd look at it every 4 years. And then of course, if the average was 50% or above, then we figured that it's kind of still, there's too much sediment in those basins on average still, so we wouldn't change the frequency at all. And then also, as I mentioned before, we took out any of the basins that didn't have a sump, and the snow route inspections were also remain the same, which is something that you'll see in a moment. So this is what it looked like with our original inspection data in GIS. So these symbols are showing over 4 to 8 years of data, where there's different sizes. I don't know if it's actually visible or not. So it's showing the different years and and how much sediment was in each of those basins based on the years. It's like a layering effect. So the bigger dots are more the past year, and the smaller dots, if you can see them on top of it, are the more recent years. So again, then the current frequencies are still the snow routes being 1 year, and the non-snow routes are every 2 years. So then you've already seen this map picture. So the goal eventually, as I mentioned, was to change all those reds to any 2s if we can, and then change those brown 2s into the magical 4s that you won't see yet, but they'll show up eventually. And then we want to change as many catch basins as we can, so that way we can basically create a more efficiency with other programs within the city. So now I've got graphs and maps to show. This is the first graph I've got. This is just a general catch basin counts for the entire city. So on the left is citywide. That's just how many citywide catch basins there were. And then we've got it divided by west side and east side. So you'll see the 1s, 2s, and 4s legend down there. So you're only seeing the snow route basins and the non-snow route basins, because right now there's no 4s because we haven't changed them yet. So we've got about 6,500 non-snow route basins, and about 2,200 on the west side, and about 430 non-snow route. And then we've got less snow route basins because those are only on the arterial maps. These are the results I got for our west side after calculations. So I've got 2 maps here. The west side calculated and the west side recommended. The west side calculated, that's what I got after doing my calculations for the average of the sediments. So you'll see, so this is why I'll kind of point it out. So we've got 1s, 2 2s, and a 4s. So basically the 1s is the snow route not changed. So they were too dirty to recommend a change to them. The first 2 is the non-snow route basins that could not be changed because again, they were also too dirty. The second 2 is snow route that could be changed because it was below 50% on average for its sediment. And then the 4s, as I said, they would show up, are the non-snow route basins that could be changed based on how much sediment below 50% we saw on average. And I think that's a pretty good amount of numbers to see how much was actually able to change. The other graph, the recommended, this is after Sue and I discussed it with our operations and maintenance crews, and they kept telling us that they would rather not change any of the snow route basins right now, because they'd like to keep it the same schedule and look at those once a year. So those got removed in our recommended data. This recommended data is also me going through and kind of hand selecting which basins should be changed based on their location to other basins. So if there was a group of basins that could all be changed from every 2 years to every 4 years, but there was like 1 basin or 2 basins that were still 2s because they were just above that 50%, I basically made an executive decision to say, okay, if they're not over 60% dirty on average, then maybe we could try out changing that to a 4, so that way the entire thing together is inspected on the same basis. Because it wouldn't have made sense for the O&M crews to go look at these 3 when there's 1 right there that they could also look at while they're right there. This is showing the frequency changes for the west side. So again, the west side includes all sections 14 through 20 that Sue mentioned. And on average, there was a 71% change in potential frequency for the west side snow route catch basins. And there was a 78% change in frequency potential for the non-snow route basins. I thought this was pretty impressive to see with our calculations that they were both above 50% that could be changed. I thought that was more than I was expecting. I thought it would actually be a little bit less than that. Now I'm going to show you the maps of those sides. These 2 maps, the one on the left is showing, again, the calculated frequency. So you're seeing all of the reds, the browns, and now I've got these green 2s, if it shows up green, that are showing snow route basins specifically that could be changed based on their low average sediment calculations. And then there's those yellow 4s I mentioned that would show up eventually are the non-snow route basins that show up that could be changed. And what was interesting is the fact that if you look, you can kind of see where there's like the conglomerate of number 4s, because they're mostly in neighborhoods that are farther away from this town. So essentially we're thinking, okay, if they're all 4s and they could be done over 4 years, then it's kind of showing the efficiency of we can kind of bypass that one entire neighborhood, and we can focus that time and effort that we would in those inspections, those cleanings, on something else. Is this microphone over now? Oh, there we go. So on this side, the recommended frequency, that is where I said, we listening to the O&M crews, we changed back all the snow routes to just every year for right now. But then I also went through and I changed certain locations where there may have been a 2 next to a bunch of forest, just so it was more accurate for when the crews go out, they can do all the basins at once in the area. So that's the west side. Now we got the east side results as well. Again, this is just showing on the left side, the calculated. That's what I got from doing the analysis, where you're seeing how many snow route basins could be changed from 1 to 2 years, and every non-snow route basin that could be changed from every 2 years, every 4 years. This one's a bit different though, because downtown is included in the east side, and we did have a discussion where when it comes to the downtown catch basins, those ones should be kept on the 2-year schedule still. So that's why these ones look probably a little bit different than the west side ones. Also, the east side is older than the west side, so there's more catch basins on the east side. Same thing, the east side that includes sections 1 through 13. Again, there was a 66% potential frequency change for the snow route basins, and then there was a 74% change potential for the non-snow route basins. Again, they're both about 50% that could be changed. I just thought was really interesting and fun to see. Now I got the maps again. Again, same thing as the west side. You got the calculated frequency showing all of them, the 1s, the 2s, and the 4s. Showing that there are those areas where a lot of the 4s cropped up together. So we could potentially just reduce it by not going to those areas together. Again, on the recommended frequency side, same thing. All the 1s got replaced again because they want to keep them the same way with the O&M crews. But then also going through, and you can see the downtown area went from a bunch of yellows and greens to mostly all brown. Because again, O&M also suggested that they want to keep that way as well. And then this map is just showing, or these graphs are just showing the overall frequency changes that I just discussed. But you're seeing both sides where they're calculated. But then again, on the recommended frequency sides, it's only going to show the non-snow route basins, because for the next few years, we're only going to focus on those as potential changes and not the snow routes at all. So in conclusion, I did find that there is a big possibility that we could change these frequencies for these inspections of our maintenance of our catch basins. And that will allow us to do more, to allow more efficient timekeeping for other programs that may crop up in the permit, or other programs that we wanted to work on for a while but we couldn't work on. And then this was only the average of sediment is what I could work on for the time I had. But in the future, we'd like to do a better assessment with things like the seasonal data, where right now, basins kind of get looked at the same time of year. So it'd be interesting to see them be inspected at a different time of year, as well as the vehicle monitoring logs to see how much time is taken up between each inspection or each cleaning. And then also the sump measurements. We didn't even have that data, I'm pretty sure, for the sump measurements of each catch basin. So it'd be interesting, even though I've got the average overall for all the catch basins, obviously the average would be different if we really assessed what the difference in the sump measurements were for each catch basin. And then also utilizing our street sweeper data to see if a street sweeper is going through a neighborhood, how much more often are those catch basins cleaner than their counterparts in areas where the street sweeper doesn't go as often. Thank you. No, we're using Steelworks for other inspections. We don't currently, this is gonna stay in field maps.
Well, our operations and maintenance use CityWorks for all of their work orders. So it's a work order software. And we wanted to be able to have flow from the field maps into CityWorks. So right now they pop up on the map in CityWorks, and then Chris goes in and makes the work orders. Yeah. Usually those catch basins might be right at the entrance to that neighborhood. They're already going along the other street. So we could, keeping those, their regular frequency is fine. The rest of them don't need it. But also with, I can't remember the timing, so it just works both ways with the frequency on that. Our situation is we need help from our GIS department. And they lost a manager, and so they were overwhelmed with all their work. And I just got the message Monday that now we can start implementing it. You can see what they're choosing in each one. So if there's fail stuff, if something's poor, it's going to automatically do a follow-up for needs work order.
So if there were an issue with that, no, not in this analysis, because if that were like it pops up automatically. So really, once they do the inspection and that gets populated as a work order, they're probably already going to go out and take care of it. So it wasn't something to consider at that point.
I also had them cleaning with every inspection because I wanted to know how much every 2 years was actually collected in it. Now they've just been doing that. There's no sediment in it, so they don't actually clean when there's like nothing down in there. We have 2 sweepers now. I did get a grant for a second sweeper, so we're able to get more, but it's still not quite enough to cover the city. So we have to sweep every bike lane every other week. So that takes up a lot of our time. As far as neighborhoods, those dead end neighborhoods, I try to get them in at least twice a year. It used to be once a year, and now it's twice a year. Well, I wanted to put it into action, and now we'll be able to do that. So I really don't know how much time, but I think it will be quite a bit because of the difference that you saw that he had on there. Generally, they would finish like the end of October with their years of inspections.
Thank you very much.